Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, the father of Hindutva, a debated political ideology. The man who championed the idea of Hindu nation, Veer Savarkar was the founder of the most debated political philosophies. His mixed legacy still inflames Indian politics. Being the father of Hindutva, he was claimed as an anti-Muslim and that his ideologies were hostile to Muslims. He is believed to have mastered the political ideology that divided Indians based on religion, but also atheism and rationality. However, the fact is that his ideologies were misinterpreted. Apparently, his Hindutva shouldn't be confused with Hinduism, but anyone considering India as a holy land was considered Hindu. Savarkar's Hindu Rashtra was one where all religions are equal. He also thought religion was a subset of thought of Hindu. He also called for annihilation of caste system. He was a great revolutionary and also went on to vehemently disagree with the Indian leaders about the independence movement. He was, however, an outspoken critic of untouchability. Early life. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar was born on May 28, 1883 in the Marathi Brahmin Chitpavan family of Damodar and Radhabai Savarkar in the village of Bhagur, near the city of Nashik, Maharashtra. He had three other brothers, Ganesh, Narayan, and an older sister named Mena. Where he was 12, he led the students in an attack on the mosque in his village after the Hindu-Muslim riots. When he was 12, he led the students in an attack on the mosque in his village after the Hindu-Muslim riots. Revolutionary activities. The Indian Council Act of 1909, commonly known as the Minto-Morley Reform, was an act of Parliament of the United Kingdom, which resulted in a limited increase in Indian participation in the Government of India. The law introduced elections to legislative assemblies and admitted Indians to the assemblies of the Secretary of India, Viceroy, and the executive assemblies of the states of Bombay and Madras. Muslims are allowed separate electoral bodies. India's nationalists considered the reforms too cautious and Hindus resented the introduction of separate Muslim constituencies. In India, Ganesh Savarkar, Savarkar's brother, organized an armed revolt against the Morley-Minto reforms in 1909. Imperial Indian police joined the investigation of Savarkar on charges of criminal planning. Hoping to escape capture, Savarkar moves into Bhikaji Cama's home in Paris. The case before the Permanent Court of Arbitration. Savarkar's arrest in Marseille prompted an objection from the French government to the British, arguing that the British could not reinstate Savarkar unless they took the appropriate legal steps to surrender him. The dispute was brought before the Permanent Court of International Arbitration in 1910, which was ruled in 1911. The case was controversial as was widely reported by the French press and believed to be an interesting international issue of refugee rights. Arriving in Bombay, Savarkar was taken to Yerwada Central Prison in Pune. The trial before the Special Court began on September 10, 1910. One of the charges against Savarkar was complicity in the murder of Nashik collector Jackson. The second case was a conspiracy under Indian Penal Code 121A against the Emperor. After two trials, Savarkar, then 28 years old, was sentenced to 50 years in prison and sent to notorious prison on July 4, 1911. In the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. He was considered a political prisoner by the British government. Prisoner in the cellular jail, Kala Pani. Savarkar asked the Bombay government for some concessions regarding his sentence. However, according to the government letter number 2022, dated April 4, 1911, his application was rejected and he was informed that the question of requesting a second life sentence reduction would be considered due to due process life. 1 month after arriving at the mobile prison in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Savarkar submitted his first request for clemency on August 30, 1911. This petition was rejected on August 3, 1911. Savarkar submitted his next request for clemency on the 14th November 1913 and personally introduced it to the board member, Sir Reginald Cradock. He wrote that his release from prison would rekindle the faith of many Indians in British rule. In 1970, Savarkar filed another request for clemency, this time a general amnesty for all political prisoners. Savarkar was informed on 1 February 1918 that a request for clemency had been submitted to the British colonial government. In December 1919, there was a royal proclamation by King Emperor George V. Paragraph 6 of the proclamation included a declaration of royal clemency for political violators. Prior to the royal proclamation, Savarkar submitted his fourth clemency request to the British colonial authorities. The condition in the cellular jail in Andaman Islands was undoubtedly horrific. Apparently, he declared his firm intention to abide by the Constitution and to abide by it as soon as Mr. Montagu started drafting the Constitution. Since then, the reforms and then the manifesto have only confirmed his position. And recently, he publicly expressed his conviction and his will to side with an orderly and constitutional development. This petition was rejected on 12 July 1920 by the British colonial government. Savarkar signed a declaration approving the British trial, sentencing and law and renounced violence, a pact for freedom. Restricted freedom granted. On May 2, 1921, the Savarkar brothers were transferred to a prison in Ratnagiri. During his incarceration in Ratnagiri prison in 1922, he wrote The Essentials of Hindutva to formulate his own theory of Hindutva. On January 6, 1924, Savarkar was released but detained in Ratnagiri county. Soon after, he began to work to strengthen Hindu society or Hindu Sangathans. Colonial authorities provided him with a bungalow and he was allowed as a visitor. During his internship, he met influential people such as Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Ambedkar. Nathuram Godse, who later assassinated Gandhi, also first met Savarkar at the age of 19 in 1929. Savarkar became a brilliant writer during his years of incarceration in Ratnagiri. Savarkar remained confined to the Indian Ratnagiri district until 1937. At that time, he was unconditionally released by the newly elected Bombay government. Political activity. Leading the Hindu Mahasabha. Savarkar, as president of the Hindu Mahasabha during the Second World War, came up with the slogan, Indianize all politics and militarize the Hindu-dom, and decided to support the British war effort in India by seeking military training for Hindus. When Parliament launched the Quit India movement in 1942, the Hindu Mahasabha under Savarkar openly opposed the Quit India movement's request and officially boycotted it. Savarkar criticized Gandhiji and asked the Hindus to remain active in the war effort and not to disobey the government. He also urged Hindus to join the army to learn the art of war. Hindu Mahasabha activists opposed Gandhi's initiative to hold talks with Jinnah in 1944, which Savarkar denounced as pacifying. Immediately after independence, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee resigned as Vice President of Hindu Mahasabha, separating himself from his Akhand Hindustan axis. Regarding the abolition of partition. Formation of coalition government. When parliamentary ministers resigned in protest of Viceroy Lord Linlithgow's Act in 1939, Hindu Mahasabha under the chairmanship of Savarkar joined the Muslim League and other parties to form the government in several provinces. Such coalition governments have been established in Sindh, NWFP and Bengal. In Sindh, members of Hindu Mahasabha joined the government of the Muslim League of Ghulam Hussain Hidayatullah. In the northwestern border province, Hindu Mahasabha members joined Sardar Aurangzeb Khan of the Muslim League to form a government in 1943. Mahasabha's member of the cabinet was Finance Minister Meher Chand Khanna. In Bengal, the Hindu Mahasabha joined the Krishik Praja Party, which headed Faizul Haq's Ministry of Progressive Union in December 1941. Savarkar appreciated the success of the coalition government's operation, apprehended and acquitted of Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. After Gandhi's assassination on January 30, 1948, the police arrested the murderer Nathuram Godse and his alleged accomplices and masterminds. He was a member of the Hindu Mahasabha and the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. Godse was the publisher of Agrani, Hindu Rashtra, a Pune Marathi newspaper run by the Hindu Rashtra Prakashan Limited. Savarkar has invested Rs 15,000 in the company. Savarkar, the former president of Mahasabha Hindu, was arrested on 5 February 1948 from his home in Shivaji Park and held at Arthur Road Prison in Bombay. He was charged with murder, conspiracy and conspiracy to commit murder. The day before his arrest, Savarkar, in a public statement as reported in the Times of India, Bombay on 7 February 1948, called Gandhi's assassination a fratricidal crime, jeopardizing India's existence as a fledgling nation. The mass of paper seized from his home did not reveal anything that could be remotely related to Gandhi's murder. Due to lack of evidence, Savarkar was arrested under the Preventive Detention Act. However, Godse took full responsibility for planning and executing the assassination. Later years, after Gandhi's assassination, Savarkar's home in Dadar, Bombay was stormed by an angry mob. After being cleared of Gandhi's murder charge and released from prison, Savarkar was arrested by the authorities for Hindu nationalist speech and was released after agreeing to give up political activities. He went on to address the social and cultural elements of Hindutva. He continued to be politically active after the ban was lifted. However, he was confined until his death in 1966. Death. On February 1, 1966, Savarkar gave up medicine, food and water, which he called Atmarpan. Before his death, he wrote an article titled Atmahatya Nahi Atmarpan, in which he argued that when one's life mission is over and the ability to serve society is gone, it is better to end it and life as you wish rather than waiting for death. It was described that this condition had become extremely severe before his death on 26 February 1966 at his residence in Bombay and that he had difficulty in breathing. Attempts to revive him were unsuccessful and he was pronounced dead at 11:10 a.m. Legacy. The airport of Port Blair, Andaman and Nicobar's capital was renamed Veer Savarkar International Airport in 2002. A portrait of Savarkar was unveiled in the Indian Parliament in 2003. A commemorative postage stamp was released by Government of India in 1970. Notable works. He has written 38 books in English and Marathi, including many essays, 2 novels called Mopla Uprising and Transport, Poems and Plays. His most famous books are the historic study of Indian War of Independence, 1857, and his brochure Hindutva, Who is a Hindu? Savarkar, Anti-Nationalist or Patriot. The mixed legacy of Veer Savarkar is still a debated topic. The political indifference to him continues long after his death. Indian scholars, historians and politicians have been divided in their interpretation of Savarkar's ideas. A self-proclaimed atheist, Savarkar views being a Hindu as a cultural and political identity is controversial, moreover misinterpreted. He was also an enthusiastic critic of Hindu religious practices that hinders the advances in Hindu materials. He believed that religion is not important for Indian identity. Conclusion: the controversial freedom fighter of India, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, still inflames Indian politics, and certain ideologies divided Indian thinkers today. Apparently, the political indifference to him still prevails long after his death. He was the founder of the most debated political philosophies like the idea of Hindu nation, Hindutva. However, his Hindu Rashtra ideology was one where all religions are equal and anyone considering India as Holy Land was considered Hindu. Still, this ideology somehow confuses and agitates other religious communities of our country. His contributions to our country as a freedom fighter cannot be ignored. He spent his crucial years of life in the horrific Kala Pani prison. This orthodox Brahmin and Hindu Mahasabha member was against the caste system prevailing in our country. Savarkar's text, Essentials of Hindutva, republished as Hindutva, Who is a Hindu?, is considered as the foundational text of the Hindu nationalist creed. He, indeed, is the father of Hindutva.